I've understood this in life that when I'm very keen to do something, I get more anxiety, I'm more scared because that's important to me. I did not want to be an actor. I did not want to act. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe right now this is what God wants for you.
सब छोड़ छाड़ के बोला बस हो गया, right? Done is like enough is enough.
But that was my worst nightmare. How can people be so harsh and so mean? I would never understand.
My next guest on today's podcast is Megha Gupta. Megha is an Indian television actor, plus now converted into being an industry leader in biohacking. Megha has really turned her life in leveraging the practices of biohacking. And if you want to know how she did that and why did she choose biohacking, I would recommend highly you not to miss this show. So without much further ado, let me get on with it. Hi Megha, welcome to Masters Decoded Season 3 podcast. Really glad to have you.
Thank you, Anis. Thank you. I know we've been planning this for a while and I'm glad our timings have matched now.
Yeah, it's been like how much? 3 months we've been planning for this, which is an interesting turn of events, right? I know you've been super busy and we'll talk about what's keeping you busy these days. But aaj ki chodo, but let's rewind a little bit, Megha. Many of the people who I'm sure who will be listening to you, they know your current setup because the amount of conversations you're having on your various digital platforms of what you're currently doing. But I want to rewind a little bit and talk a little bit about when you actually participated in a beauty pageant, right? And let's talk a little bit about from there, right? How did that start? What happened? And where did you end up as a person?
Yeah, what beauty pageant are you referring to? Of what I remember, there was this Miss Mumbai University, and my classmates told me I must do it, and I wasn't. Is that what you're referring to? Because that's
Yes,
the only one I can.
yes,
Oh
that's right.
wow, really dug deep. I like that. I haven't thought about that in so long, in so many years.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing out a beautiful memory, firstly. Yeah, I was in Wilson College, Mumbai, and I looked a certain way, I look a certain way, and my friends were like, you must. And I had no interest in it. But in the course that we were doing called Bachelors of Mass Media, we were encouraged to try different things. And so in that class, I was the only one who could have done that. And
Okay.
I did.
So
I think I was.
so you became uncomfortable in a situation, right? So what was that experience all about?
Exactly, it was about being uncomfortable. I don't know. I have always gravitated towards situations that make me uncomfortable because I feel like in those pockets is where the growth happens. And as an 18, 19-year old, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, see, it was not something I wanted to do. So I was
Right.
not scared. I've understood this in life that when I'm very keen to do something, I get more anxiety, I'm more scared because that's important to me. This was not important. So I went like, I'm like, yeah, like I had all the confidence in the world and everything because I didn't really care whether I won or lost because it wasn't really right up there in my list of things to do. So it was more like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I can't remember. I think I was a third runner up and I got the Miss Beautiful Skin. I remember getting the Miss Beautiful Skin. I'm not sure about the third runner up, but it was a great experience. Yeah, it made me, in a sense, it was not in my regular list of things to do. At the same time, I had like high confidence levels for it because it was not really on my list of things to do, right? So I wasn't scared whether I won or lost. It was more for the experience of it. And I've understood that when I do such things, I gravitate towards uncomfortable situations because that's where, in those pockets is where the growth happens. And that's important to me. So I did it. I I won Miss Beautiful Skin for sure. I remember that. I don't know if I was the third runner up or not. I can't remember. And it was a while ago. So that was an experience. Yeah. Thank you for bringing it up.
So Megha, from that beauty pageant, and you were studying in a college, you were 18, 19, and how did that transform for you to getting a breakthrough in acting? And you're doing shows and doing Nach Bali and many more things. So how did that transition happen?
Anis, I did not want to be an actor. I did not come to Bombay to be an actor. I came to Bombay to study in Wilson College. I got admission in Xavier's as well. I had a really good percentage in class 12, but I wanted to do this course called Bachelor's of Mass Media, which was
Yep.
there in Xavier Wilson. I remember them telling me कि आप Bachelor's of Mass Media क्यों करना चाहते हो, आप तो और भी बहुत कुछ कर सकते हो with this percentage. But I'm like, yeah, but this is what I want to do because I have an aptitude for writing. I used to write for the Indian Express. I used to write articles for the Indian
Wow.
Express when I was fifth, sixth. You know, those chote chote, they would
Yeah,
ask
yeah, yeah.
students to. I would always send them out and they would always get printed. In fact, they had like a prize thing which I won twice as well. So I had an aptitude for writing. I think I have an aptitude for writing still, in fact.
Yeah.
So I did this course called Bachelor's of Mass Media in Mumbai University, and we were supposed to do this project in a subject called Culture Studies, where we were supposed to go to an NGO, a production house, a bank, a corporate, and understand the culture of their institution.
Hmm.
And so a friend of mine said, I know somebody in Balaji Telefilms, let's go there and do that of a production house. And that's how we all went there. And I was sitting in the lobby waiting to meet the COO,
Okay.
who had given us to meet and do an interview with him. And so somebody walked by and they were like, the auditions are happening in the ground floor and you're sitting on the first floor. And I'm like, I haven't come for the auditions. I've come for this project. I remember that person's name, the CEO, Mr. Megha Gupta. And he said, okay. He was a little taken aback, and then he went inside and he told other people that I was sitting out and that I should. Apparently, they were looking for a lead for their show. So they came out and they're like, "Acha, abhi aap aa hi gaye ho, to just give us an introduction and go." So I said, okay, for the experience of it, I'll give it. Like, how does it matter? I did, and then they called me back and they were like, please come, we want to meet you, we want to talk to you, and this is what we have in mind. And I went and met them. I remember coming from town to Andheri to was a big project. So in fact, we were walking into a movie in Fun Republic, and they called me. So I said, I'm come now. I'll come after the movie. And I did, and that's when they were like, "We want you to do the lead of the show." And I'm like, "No, I'm not interested." And then they said, "Okay, call your parents."
Yeah.
So I called my parents, and my mom flew down from Mumbai. She said, do you want to do this? It's very nice that she asked me this, like not many people get the opportunity to be asked. And so I'm so thankful that she asked me. She let me decide. And I said, Mama, I can't, like, you all sent me to Bombay to finish my graduation. So that's important to me. So we came to the consensus that 9 to 3 p.m. I will be in college, and 3 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Hmm.
I will shoot. And I did it. But eventually it got to me because it was a lot of work, and the production, it's not easy to be in that environment of a unit of 100 people as a 19-year-old, and the kind of words they use, the kind of environment it is. At one point, I left it. I went back to continued my college, got my graduation, got a job. And then people kept calling me because from Balaji, people kind of went out to different production houses, and then
Okay.
I kept getting calls. And I don't know what download I got at that age, Anis. Like, I was like, why am I disrespecting what's being offered to me time and again? So then I went for one or two meetings and I got
Hmm.
those projects as well. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe right now this is what God wants for you. So don't disrespect it. A lot of people would give a hand and a limb to get what is being
Yeah.
dropped in your lap. So just take it and you can also go back to writing. And that's how I thing. And touched by God's grace, I did really well and
Yeah.
won a lot of awards. And like, people really appreciated me. And that's how I actually acted.
It, it it's a very stroke of luck, I would say, also, right? And I could see that patterns, right? That beauty pageant, and then you just showing up for doing a survey, right? And trying to meet this production house, and then they're saying, "Hey, can you do a small introduction and leave?" And then you getting calls back again, which is very interesting. But you know, you wanted to work, and then you get this illustrious career of acting in serials and doing shows and many more things, right? uh, that fame can get in many ways in your head as well, right? So how were you did it get into your head, first of all? That's a broader question. And did it kind of put you to that edge, and then you kind of realize, hey, what am I doing? I just want to know. And I have heard a lot of people say that it got in my head and I put myself back.
You tell me, Anis, you spend a lot of time with me. Did it get to my head?
No, and that's no, but there were a lot of things you said, right? That it kind of gave you a lot of uh, perspectives about life, about how things are, because our industry is very different, right? And maybe it's not for everyone. I'm not saying anything bad about people who work in that industry, but it's not for everyone. So do you feel that it's for everyone, or anybody can be part of it, or it's only for certain set of people? And that's why I'm getting to, right? Is it for everyone?
Well, this is also a great question. I have never been, I have never been presented this question before, and it's quite interesting that you thought of this.
Yes.
Uh, Not for the faint-hearted, I will tell you that. You have to have a different kind of strength to survive. I have done 60-hour shifts on a very regular
Wow.
basis, 60, and it's
Wow.
not just talking on the phone and doing meetings and everything. You have to show your face in those 60 hours, and you have to have the mental capacity to learn lines, and you have to emote with those lines and have all this, fake, all this, like all these fake lashes and big earrings and heavy wigs and heavy saris, and in conditions which are not very conducive to have all of that, and then not sweat and all these lights blaring at you. And then to be able to emote. So it's not for the faint hearted. But as such, the industry is very inclusive. I'm very grateful to the industry, because if you have the grit, you will survive. So it's not about the industry, it's about you. So in general, they are very inclusive. And if you are hardworking, if you have talent, and if you have timing, I think it's not a bad place to be in.
Yeah. But what आपने अभी जो word use किया, talent, right? Is talent only from a looks, from how you articulate, from how you emote, or there is much more to that? Especially in acting space, right? I know there is a lot of other streams of work as well when it comes to the entire space of what I people would call Bollywood, or any of the woods. I would just put it right. But is there when I look at acting, is it just that, or there's much more to that?
Yeah, it's a mix of everything. If you break it down, it's basically three things: the grit, that's the mental strength, and the
Hmm.
willpower to handle, everything, the people and everything. Second is talent. Now, talent is a little bit of all inclusive. It's your talent as an actor, and it's also a lot of people management.
Hmm.
And that is also very important. And then the third thing is timing. So being at the right place at the right time, I think, is also very crucial. So that's luck, timing slash luck. So I
Yeah.
think talent would be an inclusive word, where talent is not just about acting, but also about people management, also about doing shift. That comes actually into grit, where you're pulling 60-hour shifts and still being able to emote, because when you're doing a daily soap, they will not just see if you're a good artist but you can perform only 10 hours a day. No, a major part is to work around the clock. So that is also important. If you're a great performer, if you have the talent, but you will bend and break after 8-hour shifts, they might not take you, because that's not how the TV industry works, because it's
Yeah.
a non-stop. You got to keep churning out 17 minutes of footage every single day, and it's not easy. So that is also important to survive.
When you talk about that 17 minutes, and you mentioned a very interesting point about this entire 17 minutes, right? People think, oh, that show is, or that day, that serial is only for 30 minutes, but it is not 13 minutes, 30 minutes, because there's ads there in that show, there is prelude, and what's going to come in tomorrow. How do you relate? How do you, first of all, how do you, and how much time does it take to shoot that 17 minutes? Can it be done within an hour, or can it go up to 10 hours also? Like, what's been your experience?
So 17 minutes is a very relative word in terms of what you're shooting. Like now, you and me are shooting this podcast, we're having a conversation. In 1 hour,
Yeah.
we are taking out 1 hour of content.
Yeah.
Uh, but in a daily soap, there are many retakes, there are different angles, there are different, people, there are different scenes, there are different locations. One scene might be in the garden, the second might be in the kitchen. So there's a lot of shifting of the location that happens. So depending from production to production, and depending upon the efficiency of that production, it could take about a day, day and a half to take out
Wow.
17 minutes.
So how much time before does it get shoot, right? Like, if you're going to, let's say if something is going to air on Monday, or the next week Tuesday, how much time does it need to be shot before? Is it a week before, 2 weeks, 10 weeks? What is that?
And he's industry and in the production world, you're asking some very sensitive questions. You know, we have literally shot content, like we have literally shot footage, and it has got edited in the car while the tape is going to Hong Kong, where it gets
Wow.
telecast from. So
Oh,
we have
wow.
been high stress situations. So again, this is a very, like, I have had times where there was no time to even wear a sari. So like I'm wearing, you know, my blouse and the petticoat, and I'm maybe wearing my clothes, and I just literally take the sari, drape on top, and wear the earrings, and then it's this. Like you'll think I'm wearing the sari, and then I'm crying and I'm doing everything, but actually all my the rest of my sari is on the floor.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we've and we have to perform as if while I'm doing that there are other people I'm talking to, you know, and that I don't see my sari on the floor. So it's hilarious as well, but it's also very high stress in the TV industry. The situations can get very high stress. So again, to answer your question, it depends from the efficiency, from production house to production house, their efficiency. So how efficient they are. कभी कभी क्या होता है, आप कितना भी efficient हो, the artist falls
Yeah.
sick, and then suddenly whatever bank, we call it the bank, whatever bank there was, it gets depleted because like the artist is not there to shoot. So there are some production houses which don't shoot very well, and then there are some situations which you can't help, like somebody falling sick or a natural calamity or anything.
Yeah, and the other dimension is, यार ये कोई कोई शोज तो साल 2 साल चलते ही रहते हैं, right? अभी वो कैरेक्टर में रहना, एंड वो 10 एपिसोड पहले या 25 दिन पहले जो रिकॉर्डिंग हुई उसका लिंकेज कहाँ से आ जाता है, राइट? एंड वी सीन दैट इन इंडियन, एंड इट्स नॉट ओनली इंडियन बट इन मेनी डिफरेंट शोज, राइट? फर्स्ट is to remain in that character because it's not your real you, and second is वो linkages याद रखना so that your emotions, your delivery of dialogue, how do you balance the two?
Uh, Once you start playing a character, you pretty much know what the nuances of the character are.
Right.
So if situation which was back a few weeks ago and you have to relive that moment, it's not very difficult because you're playing that character literally on a daily basis, day in and day out. I have had times where I have slept in the vanity because I have only 2 hours. Like we pack up at 4 a.m. and the next shift is at 7 a.m. And it doesn't make sense for me to go from Andheri East to Andheri West to go home and come back because I'm going to waste so much time traveling, and in that time sleep is important.
Yeah.
So I've brushed vanity and continued shooting at 7 a.m. Also, for these type of situations, our ADs, assistant directors, are very important, and they keep everything together. So even the director, when you suppose you have to shoot back a few scenes, like the director will come and tell you, suppose my name, like my most famous show was मैं तेरी परछाई हूँ, and the name was Anchal. So he'll tell me कि Anchal उस time उसने ऐसा ऐसा किया था, तो अभी Anchal का ये, and then we have a discussion. If in the scene he feels that my emotion was a little different and he would have expected, so we have a discussion about it, and then we get through it.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you in a difficult spot right now. Okay. And Frank, I don't think so you will care knowing you. Which one was your best, I would say, uh, character which you've played, and which was your worst?
The best, I think, is a no-brainer. Anchal from Main Teri Parchai, who is very close to my heart. It's
Okay.
a show which is produced by Suraj Bharjatia ji and company, by
Yeah.
Rajshri, Kavita ji, Suraj ji, Raj ji. They were all wonderful to work with. You know, I wish everybody gets a set of people to work with who are as good as them. And the environment on the set was very clean. There were just no cuss words. There were never any hurry. Everything was very like, how do you want it? What do you want? And I am that kind of a person. So for me, it was very good because when people use harsh language with me, I'm just like, whoa, because like in our place at home as kids, we didn't even say stupid idiot, you know. I don't think I ever heard my parents these words. So using cuss words on the set in some other production houses is very difficult to digest. So overall, on screen and off screen, both ways, it was Main Teri Parchai Hu. It won me many awards, and the character was also very nice one. You know, Anchal, she
Yeah.
was very real. very like true to her word. She's very honest in her approach to life, and very responsible in what she was doing. Yet she had a lot of masti, so I related with her a lot. I think the most difficult one was I did this one show. I can't remember the name of the director was Amit Gupta, and I can't remember the name of the show. Dream Girl, I think it was with Shraddha Arya and this other person, and I hated working there. I hated working there. The people on set, just trying to make life difficult for you because I had entered after a while. I was the new entry and the new lead, and they all already had their own, talmail. So
Yeah.
they all just decided that, she's the outsider. And the director just gave me a really hard time. Like I was, Anis, it was to a point when I was having nightmares. I was waking up in the middle of the
Wow.
night with nightmares, and so I went to the production house. I took a day off and I went there. I said, I cannot continue because nothing is worth my peace of mind. I'm waking up in nightmares because like he would just like yell at me on the mic in front of everybody for no reason, trying to make life difficult. Some people are just sadists. And when I went to the production house, I can't remember the name of the production house. It's been a while, but they were so nice. They were like, really, like somebody else told us this as well, and we did not take it seriously. But now, if you are also saying it, that means we need to remove him. The other person who had complained about him was Anita Rajji.
Hmm.
She's a very
Yep.
actor, and I do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, 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 very much. She was a yesterday actor as well, right? We've seen her movies as well,
Yes, yes. And
right?
they didn't take that. But when I said it as well, they were like, oh, and they removed him immediately. They were like, we will not tolerate this on set. And they removed him immediately. And then I continued for a bit and then the show shut. But that was my worst nightmare. How can people be so harsh and so mean? I would never understand.
Are there any characters which kind of took over you personally in your personal life as well? Like you speak about Achal a lot, right? Uh, were there like characters because you were in that mindset, because you were playing that character? Did that really impact you in a good way and a positive, bad way as well? Any?
No, no. I
Okay,
think my own personality is the one I love the most. So nothing really overshot that. No.
okay, that's great. Now, when I look at where you've been through, right? How did this switch happen? And सब छोड़ छाड़ के बोला बस हो गया, right? Done is like enough is enough. And which starts your second phase. You might have had, but I'm looking at these two phases. The second phase chalu ho gaya of my life, and I'm just going to focus on this. And this is your entire process of biohacking and focusing on health and mental peace. And what was that inflection point or the deflection point? Or somebody may say,
It was type 1 diabetes.
okay,
I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes a couple of years ago, living in Bombay, acting, and quite happy with my life. And then I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and that's when the course correction happened. And that's when I said, I know I have loved being in Bombay, and I'm very grateful for what Bombay has given to me. But Anis, Bombay takes a lot from you as well.
agreed.
You don't bit by bit, it does take a lot from you. Any big city does, not just Bombay. I'm very grateful to Bombay, no matter what, but it does take from you, but I'm also very grateful. So when type 1 diabetes happened, I said now it's time to, leave the city. It's given me a lot, but it's also taken a lot. And now it's time to say goodbye. And overnight, I just moved to Goa. This was before the lockdown. And I said, I need to take care of my health now. And I always took care of my health. But in those 2 years, I went through high stress situations in my personal life.
Hmm.
Um, it was, and I did not know what I know now in terms of health and wellness. So I did not know how to tackle that stressful situation. So I decided to move and take care of my type 1 diabetes. And that's where the course correction happened. And the rest, as you can see, I think we are all thriving and surviving more
Yeah.
than anything.
No, and believe me or not, I have learned a lot from you. From those 3 days when I met you, uh, the kind of conversations we had. I would call myself, okay, I'm doing biohacking, but I came to my terms very easily, quickly, and it's kind of got me intrigued. Sitting with you, Mugda, and the kind of thoughts you all have shared, it's taught me a lot, and I definitely want to double click on each of those areas, because, like, just simple things, right? Like chaga, lion mane, reishi. I'd never heard about these things, and y'all started talking like, what are they talking about, right? And then I did my own research, and believe me or not, you know that the process we went through in those 3 days, uh, I had to stop caffeine for that, right? And I've never touched caffeine again. I never have caffeine anymore. It's all decaf if I even have to have any placebo effect that I'm having a coffee, but it's never caffeine ever, right? But and my the thing which kind of wakes me up, and I'm talking to you, it's early morning here, is cordyceps as an example, right? Uh, so I don't have anything anymore. So thanks to you, I've learned a lot, and I continue to watch what you share, what you do. Like the simple thing you spoke about, ice cold baths, right? But ये सब कहाँ से आया? Like, how did you align to biohacking? Okay, you wanted to cure type 1 diabetes, but ये सब knowledge, sitting in Goa and then lockdown hits, ये सब कहाँ से आने लगा?
Uh, yeah, Anis, I want to discuss this cordyceps with you a lot more. You can let
Sure.
me know if that this podcast or like out of it, because it's an information that should be out to our people as well. It's very important.
Yeah.
But
And there's so much of lack of awareness in India specifically.
that
Internationally also.
so this is something like you and I had this conversation and you made this change, and look at you, you've been, you've had a hectic night and still you did not have coffee in the morning and you had cordyceps. Look at the power of mushrooms.
Yeah.
So would love to discuss it more on this platform, but that's up to you. Coming to your question about how this started, I will bring in my ex-boyfriend. One day we were just talking, and he mentioned, like, in all like long conversations, talking about crypto, talking about this, that, and he mentioned biohacking. And then I went back home and I flipped my laptop open and I said, "What is biohacking?" Like, he explained a little to me that time, and it sounded interesting. So I came back and I like started doing my R&D, and I went into this black hole the entire night. Like, and for me to stay up in the night is a big deal. So the entire night I just kept reading on it and understanding what it is. And from the very next day, I started doing what I could with what I had, and that changed my life. So I'm very grateful to him, and that's how my journey with biohacking started, and it's been a good 4 5 years since, and I am so glad for how far it's brought me.
So we spoke about cordyceps, right? Because you asked me that question, is cordyceps is a topic which we want to talk about. And
We
when we
wrote
talk
this.
about,
I'm like, I'm going to discuss this with Anis later, but yeah, I'm
no,
happy
no,
to discuss it.
no, let's do that right now before we get into more biohacking and more conversations, because this can get into many different. And when we talk about mushrooms, just for the audience clarification, we are not talking about magic mushrooms here, right? Let's be. It's the psilocybins specifically. It's not the psilocybin types of mushrooms. And you can see I have done my own research here a little bit. And it was fascinating to also see this Netflix series, The Mighty Fungi, if I remember, if I'm calling it the right name, right, which kind of talks about the the neural network which is there under the ground, which our eyes don't see, and how fascinating it is, and how mushrooms play a critical role in ensuring the environment is thriving, and also how they play a critical role in what kind of the I would say potent level of effects it can have to human beings, right? And in a good way, specifically the psilocybin mushrooms. How did that mushrooms come in your life specifically? And when we talk about these different types, right? There are so many of them. So, how did you discover that, and what got you to, and how did that experimentation work for you?
Uh, I was invited to the Biohacker Summit last year in October,
Okay.
and um, I don't normally fall sick, but I remember I was under the weather over there.
Hmm.
And there is this brand called London Nootropics,
Hmm.
and they had a counter there. And I went there to try their coffee. They had adaptogenic coffee, and the founder, I was having a conversation with him discussing health, and he's like, "You're not feeling well." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm finding it difficult to even talk, like, because of constant sneezing." And he said, "Come with me." And he took me to a counter and he opened this bottle, like a dropper thing, and he said, "Take this." And I took it, and Anis, I normally, that's why I don't do homeopathy. I don't believe in the power of all these slow. I did not believe in the power of all medicines. I still would not take allopathy easily, but I would just let the body do its job.
Yeah.
He put drops. I consumed those drops, and within a matter of minutes, my cough, cold, everything just felt like it had left my body. And I'm like, what did you give me? And he said it's chaga. It's a type of mushroom, and it's an adaptogenic, and it's very good for immunity. I said, okay, and I went back to that counter where he picked. And then I looked around, and there was chaga, and there was lion's mane, and there was reishi, and there was cordyceps, and the chaga is for immunity. Lion's mane is for focus and clarity. Cordyceps is for energy, and reishi is for calm, for making you calm and for sleep as well. And so I picked up whatever I could. I purchased all of it, and I came back to India, and I took them on a regular basis. And my life changed. Yeah, Anish. Like I understood the power of these mushrooms and cordyceps. Like now you're my fellow cordyceps worshipper, if I
Yeah.
may say so.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just juice in the morning. Like I'm still not able to give up coffee, but just cordyceps. Like if I don't feel like working out, I go and I just have a great workout, that extra push without any BCAA, without chemicals, without something I'm not sure what it'll do to my body. So that's how it started, and I've been taking them ever since. And I feel like my neuro pathways have changed, and it's been great. It's been great, and I have been able to tell a lot of people about it because I'm like, guys, listen, I discovered this, and you must also take the advantage of this. And a lot of people have gotten on this journey, and you're not having coffee anymore. For me and Mugdha and Mike, whoever you had this conversation with, it's such a victory, that you
Yeah.
made this shift. As a coffee consumer, I know it's not easy. I haven't been able to do it in spite of taking cordyceps. So what you have done is like right up there, Anis.
No, it's been thanks to friends like you who've been able to pass that knowledge down. But for people who मैं saying ये क्या है ये चागा cordyceps like mushrooms तो हमें मालूम है वो जो normal India में mushrooms मिलते हैं right so are these available first of all in India or is it easily available these mushrooms and are they supposed to be consumed like in its true form or are they supposed to be had in a different form right I know the answer but why don't I hear it back from you.
They are not easily available in India right now. They're still a fairly new concept and a fairly new, I wouldn't say fairly new concept. It's been there since long before we were there. So I won't say a fairly new concept. But as of now, India does not have access to these tinctures and these powders and these capsules.
Yeah.
There are some brands. There's Life Cycle, there's Mighty Fungi, and I know now you're talking about the Real Mushrooms, which is a US based brand. I got the Mighty Fungi. So yeah, India is not aware that much of it. It's growing now. A lot of people in the south are growing these mushrooms. I actually got my hands on real lion's mane. Somebody I ordered it from Kerala, and this
Wow.
person sent it to. So it's happening. It's starting. It's getting there. But right now, it's a fairly new thing. That people are. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but people are making coffees and people are making teas, and like slowly people are understanding the power of these mushrooms in India.
It's beautiful. The entire journey of mushrooms is becoming so interesting. There's another company, it's called YGIEAX, right? Also in the north in India, who are actually dabbling with mushrooms, and they started coming and producing that. But they are not easily grown, right? Everywhere, specifically, and it's not like mass produced like the common day mushrooms which we get in India everywhere, right? So it becomes expensive too. Uh, but when you think about these mushrooms, also like you have cordyceps, you have lion's mane, you have chaga, you have reishi, and all of them. Uh, how do you do? Like, do you do all of them together? Or, like, you just end up taking pills or powder every day, or like, how? What is your routine?
What I do is I have these, so from Mighty Fungi, I have these capsules, which are these
Hmm.
gelatin capsules. So what I do is reishi ka maine I've opened the capsules and taken just the powder because I don't really want to consume that capsule as well because being into
Gelatin.
health and wellness take a lot of supplements in the entire day. So as much as possible, I try to avoid the capsule. So in a jar, I've opened out the capsules and put reishi. In another jar, I've put cordyceps. Another jar, I've put lion's mane, and in another chaga. And
Hmm.
also there are droppers. Actually, oh yeah, there's another brand called kappa mushrooms.
Hmm.
So they have these like this is chaga, so this is kappa mushrooms. There's another really good brand.
Wow.
So they're there. So so what I do is I put cordyceps, lion's mane, and chaga in the morning in my coffee, and reishi is in my night stack. And sometimes I don't put lion's mane and chaga in the morning. I will take cordyceps if I'm leaving for a workout. If I'm not going to go for a workout, then I will maybe just take chaga and lion's mane. If I want to have an easy day, then I will just put chaga because then I'm not really using my brain. So I don't want that to get activated through lion's mane. And I don't want energy by cordyceps, so then I don't take that. So it really depends on the day I'm having. But largely cordyceps is for energy, lion's mane is for clarity and focus, chaga is for immunity, and reishi is for calm. So I place them depending on what is the need of the hour.
Okay. So you have mushrooms on one side, which become your, that nootropics which help you and get your nervous system together. There's so much going on in your, and specifically being a type 1 diabetes, you have so many other things, right, going on in your body, specifically with your blood. There's also the other aspects of uh, the skin, the wellness, and all of that. The ice bath, and I know you are a pretty proficient in ice baths. Let's talk a little bit about ice baths as well, because that's something which you introduced to me. And I'll just tell you, this weekend, last weekend, in fact, I was staying in a hotel, so there was bathtub. I went and I picked up 7 pounds of ice, 2 bagfuls, and kind of put all of them into the bathtub, and I just kind of sat, and it really helped. But and again, this was mentioned by you in those 3 days a lot about ice baths. So where did you get introduced to ice baths more, and how has that helped you today uh, as you look at your journey?
Anis, you are surprising me, and I'm also feeling sad that we don't have this discussion otherwise. Like, I'm sad
Yeah.
that we are discussing on a podcast after many months. I wish you would like just leave me a message saying, hey, you told me about this and I did it. Like, it would make me so happy. So I'm feeling sad that we have not been in touch, which I'm consciously going to make an effort and check on you now.
No,
Um,
likewise.
yeah. So
Yeah.
where the ice bath is concerned, again, it's my ex-partner who told me about it. He told me about biohacking and he told me about ice baths and everything. So it started from there, but then I went and did my research and today actually I have three ice baths at home because I started with a water tank, वो जो 300 liter का water tank, I got it cut
Wow.
from the top and I would dunk ice in it and sit in it. Then I graduated to a fabricated aluminium bathtub and then I did that. And now I have an automatic one which I just put on and it cools to a good 3-4 degrees. So it started because of him and I have been doing it ever since. Yes, it has helped me immensely because as a type 1 diabetic, actually all disease begins in the gut
Mhm.
and uh, it is because of inflammation in the gut. And what the ice bath does is it directly helps with that inflammation. Our aim in life is to just reduce the inflammation in our body for with everything. Like literally, I think we should look at things and say, is this going to increase my inflammation or decrease? Like we should even a conversation with anybody, is this going to increase my inflammation or decrease? Because that's what we want to do. We want to heal our mitochondria, we want to heal our gut, and we want to have an uninflamed gut. So the ice bar does that. It heals the inflammation. And then there are many added benefits. Like for me, I use it a lot for muscle recovery because I work out almost every day. So I do it after about 20 hours of my workout so that my muscles recover. Should not do it right after your workout because if your muscles are inflamed at that point, they need to be inflamed to be built.
Hmm.
So, skin, hair, mental strength, mitochondria, inflammation, willpower, gut, like, and it, like, I don't know the science of it, but apparently the ice bath, increases or releases dopamine more than cocaine, which is so interesting. You get that dopamine hit from that, and you feel
Yeah.
great after. You have this surge of energy which lasts for a longer time. It's not like cocaine or anything else which goes up and goes down. It's like a good one. It keeps you on that level for a very long time during the day.
Yeah.
So urge everybody to start their day with a cold plunge in any form. I understand that not everybody has access to ice cold water, but if you're living in a cold space, try to do that. If not, don't put your geyser on, and just do regular thanda pani, cold water. I know a person who told me, because of looking at my ice baths, she told me that she removed the geyser from her bathroom. She's like, I've decided never to put it on, and she removed the geyser,
Oh,
like
wow.
literally just. And I'm like, wow, like, you know. So yeah, it's helped me a lot, and I am a crusader of cold plunging.
That's great. That's great. Now, when you think about all of this, right? So you spoke about a common person may not have access to it. Now, everybody may not be fortunate कि यार सब छोड़ छाड़ के मैं गोवा चले जाऊं, right? As an example. But in my own way, what can I start small when you think about the word biohack? Because there is so much you can do when it comes to biohacking, right? And it's becoming a big prominent topic today in the industry, and there is a lot of people being made aware and they are on that journey of biohacking. So how much is enough, and how little is also good enough?
I think it starts from where your base point is.
Okay.
It's like anything else in the world. It's like a yoga class, it's like a workout. It will affect you, but it will take its time depending on where your base level is right now.
Mhm.
If you are hitting the ground running, then it'll help you immediately. If you are new to yoga, then it'll take a couple of classes to get you in that flexibility zone. And the same is with biohacking. But if you want to get started, now the beautiful part about biohacking, like every other modality, healing modality in the world, is there are different types of it, and there are different people endorsing different things. And early on in my hacking, stint, I realized that a lot of people focus a lot on gadgets, a lot on supplementation without really going back to the basics. And that's the base on which I stand. I'm very clear to not endorse gadgets or stem cell therapy or anything till you have not tried the basics. Get
Yeah.
your basics, four pillars: your sleep, movement, nutrition, and the sun. If you've got those right, it's very rare that you will need to do a stem cell. People say, give me the magic pill, but the magic pill is this, the four pillars. It's not the stem cell. So you want the magic pill, you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
Don't expect results if you don't put in the work, because even that stem cell or whatever else will eventually catch up in a different form which you don't want. So if you want to get started, I think I endorse using nature and body. Nature for the abundance of nutrition it has, whether it's fruits, vegetables, animals, whatever you call it. Sunshine and earthing, and human body for movement, for breath work, for these kind of things. So this is what I would urge people to start with. To And I don't mean to endorse, but I've got proper ebooks on my channel,
Mhm.
on Megha Gupta official on Instagram handle. There's also, I mean, you don't have to go there. You can just go to meghaguptaofficial.com, and there are ebooks about all these things: how to get started, what the sun does to you, what good nutrition does to you. I don't endorse any kind of nutrition because it's not right, because every body is different.
Yep.
Mine might work on the carnivore, but for somebody else, the vegan way of eating might work better. So I'm
Yep.
not here to how to eat. I'm telling you, do intuitive eating, do experimental eating, and decide what works for you. Don't let anybody dictate that to you. Another way of finding out what works for you is doing enough blood work, so that you know what your body needs. Once you know that, because अगर किसी ने आपको बोल दिया अरे ये खा लो ये supplement ले लो, you can't do that because it's working for them. It might not work for you.
Yep.
So these pointers about how you can get started.
Now this this personalized aspect which you just touched on is so real for everyone, right? What you may be able to do, I may not be able to do, as an example. But can I do things which work for me within my schedule, with my life, with my day-to-day aspects, is something which, and every body is different, and the inner workings of those bodies are different. So, like to your point, there is this famous show. I don't know if you've seen that, the Chris Hemsworth show, where he talks about different aspects of biohacking, and he does it along with this famous author Outlive, who's written this book called Outlive. I'm
Yeah, Peter,
forgetting. Yeah, Peter Wilkin, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's
Peter,
the yeah. So it's a very fascinating show, but Chris was able to do it because he's reached a certain stage. He can afford to do all of that, but it's not possible. And you rightly said it's about that four elements. How do you bring together and build on this? Uh, there's one more thing which I want to touch base today, Megha. You've had an illustrious career, and in acting and being part of the TV industry in India, and now what you're doing. But there are a lot of haters, I would use that word, right? In the digital space and in the non-digital space. How do you deal with that? And how does biohacking allow you to deal with all of this?
I don't deal with it, Anis.
Okay.
It's not this, it's not my monkeys, and it's not my battle to fight.
Hmm.
Uh, Very interesting that you brought this up, but I don't deal with it. I don't have to deal. I don't have the resources to deal with it, not physical, not mental, not emotional, not financial, not spiritual. So why would I deal with it? It's their problem. It's a projection of their insecurities, and I am not a school for anybody. So if they want to throw hate at me, it is also their problem. If they don't want to throw hate at me, is also their problem. I am not here to make it my problem. It's interesting, when I started eating beef as a Hindu 3-4 years ago, I got a lot of beef for it on social media.
No, and I
Everybody decided.
see some of your posts, and they're fine. And people, when you look at some of the comments, like, really, guys, come on, grow up, right? So it's just disturbing. Meaning, maybe for people who are outside, right? And it may be impacting you, but it's great that it's not impacting you. I'm very happy to hear that as a friend.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I want to tell you, it doesn't impact me one bit. Like initially, when the whole came, I saw my following dropping, and it still didn't bother me. Like log cheeze karte apni following increase karne ko, I was doing to drop my following, but I was like, I have to be true to my word. I have to be true to myself. Like, it doesn't matter what people think and do or say, because for me, by the end of it, I want to sleep peacefully. And the one thing that lets me sleep peacefully is me being true to myself.
Yeah.
So इस और किसी का कोई काम ही नहीं है. Nobody has a role to play in this. And eventually people understood that this is her life. I'm like, boss, I am a Hindu, which you have decided, but God put me down on this planet as a human and said, beta, aap healthy raho. If to
Right.
be healthy, eat beef, please eat beef. It's these humans who have a problem with me eating beef, because actually they don't get to eat the beef. And it's sad because they are missing out.
Yeah.
I mean, beef is delicious and it's healthy. So no, it didn't bother me at all. And eventually the following started going up because I was true to my word and they understood. And I've always been honest. I'm like, you don't like the content, you don't like what I'm doing, I welcome you to press the unfollow button.
Yeah.
And it's been great. Like, I don't really care. The other thing that helped me tackle, since you asked me ki, in terms of biohacking, what has helped you tackle this? Again, very interesting, Anis. I'm enjoying this podcast with you because you've come up with like really good questions which have made me think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's the process of elimination. It's very simple. For the process of addition to happen, you have to do the process of elimination,
Hmm.
because it's better to write on a clean slate. So I can eliminate like this. I drop people, situations, thoughts, emotions like this. Like, you are not adding to my life. That's it. Like, there is no space in my life right now to have a conversation with anybody who doesn't add value. Of course, you have your friends and everything. And it's not like, I'm not saying every conversation you have to add value,
Yeah.
but I don't have the bandwidth to entertain anything which is not adding to my life in the long run.
Hmm.
So once I started eliminating, all the good things started coming to me, and it's been beautiful.
Wow. No, on that note, Megha, this has been very fascinating. I know it's daytime for me here, but it's nighttime for you. I know you sleep early, and I don't want to hold you back. And it's been a fascinating story. I know you will have to go and get your dinner as well, but and I don't want to hold you back on that point. But this conversation, you and I have been, as we started off saying that we've been trying to get onto this, but and today also, I'm sure people will see the edited version don't know that the amount of technical challenges we have had, right? But no, it's been a fascinating, and I hope people have learned to it and got a little bit aware. We are not doctors. I just want to clarify. Certified. You do good. You do yourself. Like, go ahead and do your own research if you want to join on the bandwagon of biohacking or get into the mushrooms aspect, psilocybin mushrooms. So yeah, thanks, Megha, for taking time out today.
Anis, thank you. I want to say a couple of things. Firstly, for you, I will skip dinner.
Okay,
You must know that I not only adore you, I love you. You are
thank
one
you.
of
And same
my
here.
don't talk often, but you have a special place in my heart because of just the person you are. So true to yourself, so sincere, so diligent. I remember when we were on our way to the retreat and you said, I'm not having coffee. And I was like, wow, the
Yeah,
dedication, it's not easy. So you had so much respect. I had so much respect for you from right that moment. So and then the ceremony that we were in, we connected, and I think, like, I remember that, and I know you remember that. So
yeah,
you can call me back from a dinner, and I know that it was difficult for you to make it at this hour as well. So I know that from both the sides it was a challenging time, but I think that's the beauty. And thank you so much for having me over. I really hope I have added some value to your audience.
no, definitely. There's been a lot of interesting conversations which we've had today, and people, hopefully, they get to learn something. That was the intention of this podcast, and getting you onboarded and showing this side of yourself as well, because people might not be aware of who you are in terms of and the kind of life you've been through. People see all the good
Yeah.
things, but they don't see the inner things, and that's what the intention was. So thank you. As we say,
Thank
aho.
you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and see you all soon.